He said, "If this is too much, just tell me." His voice barely above a whisper as his hand rested gently on my shoulder in the dim glow of our shared Chicago apartment. My silence wasn't rejection. It became the quiet bridge that carried us into a relationship neither of us had planned, one that would test every part of who I thought I was. The rain tapped against the tall windows of our third-floor walk-up in Wicker Park like it was trying to keep a secret. Ethan Harper, that's me, 28, marketing coordinator at a mid-sized firm downtown, the guy who still sent his parents in Ohio weekly updates about work and the weather. Liam Callahan had been my roommate and best friend since our sophomore year at the University of Illinois. We'd survived group projects, breakups, and that one disastrous road trip to Milwaukee where the car broke down twice. He was the steady one, tall, dark-haired, always the first to laugh at my terrible jokes and the last to leave a party. I never questioned why he never brought girls home. I never questioned a lot of things. Tonight had started ordinary enough. We'd ordered Thai food after a long week, cracked open a couple of beers, and ended up talking about the usual work deadlines, the Cubs' losing streak, whether we should finally paint the living room. Then the conversation turned personal. Liam's ex had texted him out of nowhere, stirring up old memories. I listened like I always did, offering the kind of half-baked advice friends give when they don't really know what else to say. At some point, he stood up to grab more napkins, and when he sat back down, his knee brushed mine. Neither of us moved. The air felt heavier, charged in a way I couldn't name. "I've been thinking a lot lately," he said, eyes on the floor, "about us, about how close we are, and I don't want to make anything weird, Ethan. If his fingers tightened just slightly on my shoulder, if any of this crosses a line for you, you have to tell me. Right now." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My heart hammered so loud I was sure he could hear it. Images flashed, us at graduation, laughing in the rain, late nights studying with his head on my shoulder, the way he always knew when I needed space or when I needed someone to stay. Tell him what? That the touch felt safe? That it felt right in a way nothing else ever had? I stayed quiet. The silence stretched, warm and terrifying, until Liam finally looked up. His eyes searched mine, soft and uncertain, and something in them shifted. He didn't pull away. Instead, he leaned in just enough for our foreheads to almost touch. "Okay," he whispered, like he'd heard every word I hadn't said. "Okay." That single syllable cracked open a door I hadn't known existed. We sat there for what felt like hours, the rain the only sound, until he finally stood and headed to his room. "Nighty." His voice was gentle, like he was afraid to break whatever had just happened. I stayed on the couch long after he left, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through every memory we'd shared. Was I gay? Had I always been? The questions looped endlessly, but beneath the panic was a strange, quiet relief. For the first time in my life, something inside me felt seen. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee. Liam was in the kitchen, hair messy, wearing the old Northwestern hoodie I'd given him as a joke years ago. He glanced over his shoulder and smiled. The same easy smile he'd given me 1,000 times. Nothing forced, nothing awkward. "Morning. Pancakes." I nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, sounds good." We ate at the tiny table by the window, talking about nothing important, but every glance felt layered now. When our hands brushed reaching for the syrup, neither of us jerked away. That small contact sent warmth up my arm, and I realized my silence the night before hadn't ended anything. It had only begun it. By the time I left for work, walking the 6 blocks to the L, the city felt different. The skyscrapers loomed brighter, the wind off the lake sharper. I kept replaying his words, my lack of answer, the way the air between us had changed. Part of me wanted to text him right then and say it was too much, that we should forget it. But another part, the part that had stayed silent, knew I couldn't. That part wanted to see what happened next. The office buzzed with the usual Monday chaos. I buried myself in campaign reports and client emails, but every spare second my mind drifted back to the apartment. At lunch, I stared at my phone, thumb hovering over Liam's contact. What'd I even say? Thanks for not making it weird? Sorry I didn't speak? I locked the screen and shoved it away. Denial felt safer, but it was already cracking. That evening I came home to find Liam had cooked, simple stir-fry, nothing fancy. We ate on the couch, watching a documentary about national parks, our usual routine. Halfway through, he stretched his arm along the back of the couch, fingers resting lightly near my shoulder again. I didn't move. The silence from last night echoed between us, comfortable now, like an unspoken agreement. When the credits rolled, he turned to me. "Still okay?" he asked quietly. I met his eyes and nodded once. "Still okay." He smiled, small and real, and for the first time I let myself feel the pull. No labels, no definitions, just the quiet certainty that something had shifted and I wasn't running from it. Not yet. Weeks blurred into a new rhythm. Mornings started with coffee and quiet conversation. Evenings ended with movies where our shoulders touched without comment. Liam never pushed. He waited, patient as always, letting my silence set the pace. We began taking longer walks along the lakefront on weekends, the city skyline glittering behind us. One Saturday in late October, the leaves turning gold along the path, he reached for my hand. I let him take it. The warmth of his palm against mine felt like coming home after a long trip I hadn't realized I was on. Work became my escape and my prison. At the agency, I smiled through meetings, pitched ideas, laughed at the right jokes. No one knew. How could they? I was still Ethan, the reliable guy from Ohio who dated a girl named Sarah for 6 months in college. The thought of telling anyone made my stomach twist. What will my boss say? What will the team think? I pushed the fear down and focused on the campaign for a new craft beer client. Late nights at the office gave me excuses to stay out, but Liam always left the porch light on. One Thursday, I came home past him to find him on the couch with 2 plates of takeout. "Figured you'd be hungry," he said simply. We ate in comfortable quiet until he asked, "Want to talk about it?" "Or not yet?" "Not yet," I answered, and he nodded like that was enough. His acceptance made the guilt sharper. I was hiding me, from the world, and he deserved better. But every time I opened my mouth to say something, the words stuck. So we kept building in the shadows. Stolen glances at the grocery store, his hand on the small of my back when we crossed busy streets, the way he'd brush a stray hair from my forehead without thinking. The first real test came when my parents called. Mom's voice was bright on speakerphone. "We're thinking of flying up for Thanksgiving." "It's been too long, honey." Dad chimed in about the Bears game. I froze. Liam watching from the kitchen. "Sounds great," I managed, voice steady. After I hung up, Liam didn't ask questions. He just pulled me into a hug, chin resting on my head. "We'll figure it out," he murmured. In that moment, wrapped in his arms, the fear felt smaller. But doubt crept in at night. Lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling, I replayed every childhood memory. Dad's lectures about being a man, Mom's church stories, the way they'd proudly display my prom photos with girls. Was I betraying them? Was I betraying myself? Liam never pressured for labels. He simply showed up, making sure I had my favorite cereal, leaving little notes on the fridge that said, "You got this," before big presentations. His patience gave me space to breathe, to feel the slow unfurling of something true inside me. One crisp November evening, we drove out to the Indiana dunes just to watch the sunset. The beach was nearly empty, waves crashing in steady rhythm. We walked side by side until Liam stopped and turned to me. "I need you to know I'm not going anywhere, Ethan. Whatever pace you need, I'm here." The wind whipped around us, carrying the scent of lake water and possibility. I reached for his hand again, squeezing once. No words. My silence had become our language, and it was starting to feel like the most honest thing I'd ever done. Thanksgiving arrived with a cold front and my parents' flight landing at O'Hare. I picked them up alone, heart pounding the whole way. Liam had offered to stay at a friend's place for the weekend, giving me space. "Family first," he'd said with that gentle smile. The apartment felt wrong without him. Too quiet, too ordinary. Mom hugged me tight at the door. Dad clapped my shoulder, and for 3 days I played the role I perfected. The successful son, the good host. We ate turkey, watched football, talked about Ohio politics. Every laugh felt like a lie sitting on my chest. Saturday night, Mom cornered me in the kitchen while Dad napped. "You seem different, sweetheart." Happier but distracted. "Everything okay at work?" Her eyes searched mine the way only mothers can. I forced a grin. "Just busy, Mom." "New campaign." She nodded, but I saw the flicker of doubt. Later, when they left for their hotel, I texted Liam, "Come home." 10 minutes later, he walked through the door, carrying my favorite coffee. We didn't speak about the weekend. He simply held me on the couch until the tension eased. The misunderstanding hit 2 weeks later at the office holiday party. My coworker Jake, loud, well-meaning, always prying, cornered me by the bar. "Dude, you've been glowing lately." "New girl." I froze. Across the room, Liam had stopped by to pick me up, standing near the coat check in his dark coat. Our eyes met. Jake followed my gaze. "Wait, is it your roommate?" "No way." The implication hung heavy. I laughed it off, but the damage was done. On the ride home, Liam was quiet. "You don't have to hide me, Ethan," he said softly when we pulled up. "But I get it if you're not ready." His words stung because they were true. I wanted to shout it from the rooftops, yet fear kept my mouth shut. Christmas brought another wave. My sister called from Ohio, excited about her new boyfriend. "When are you bringing someone home, big brother?" The question landed like a punch. Liam overheard and retreated to his room. That night, I found him sitting on his bed, staring at an old photo of us from college. "I'm sorry," I whispered, sitting beside him. He turned, eyes glistening. "I'm not asking you to come out tomorrow. I need to know this is real for you too." I took his hand and held it until morning light filtered through the blinds. My silence had protected us so far, but cracks were forming. The argument came on New Year's Eve. We'd planned a quiet night, takeout, champagne, watching the fireworks from the roof. But Jake's comment had festered. Halfway through dinner, Liam set his fork down. "I can't keep being your secret, Ethan. It's eating me up." His voice cracked. "Every time you hesitate, I wonder if I'm just convenient." The words hit harder than any punch. I stood, chair scraping. "You think this is easy for me? My parents would lose their minds. My job, everything I've built." I stopped, breath short. Liam's eyes filled with pain. "I know, but I'm tired of waiting for you to choose us." He left for a walk. I sat alone, the city exploding with fireworks outside, while my world imploded inside. Hours later, he returned, cheeks red from the cold. We talked until dawn, really talked. I told him about the fear that had lived in my bones since childhood, the way silence had always been my shield. He listened, then shared his own story of coming out in high school and the friends he'd lost. By morning, we held each other, exhausted but closer. "I'm not going anywhere. I promise this time," voice steady. The misunderstanding had forced honesty, and honesty felt like oxygen. Work suffered. I fumbled a presentation, distracted by the weight of what I'd almost lost. My boss pulled me aside. "Everything all right at home?" I nodded, but the question lingered. That evening, Liam cooked my favorite pasta. Over candles, he raised his glass. "To choosing us every day." I clinked mine against his, the sound ringing like a new beginning. Spring brought the hardest test. My parents announced a surprise visit for my birthday. This time they wanted to meet the roommate who's been such a good influence. Panic clawed at me. Liam suggested we tell them together, but I hesitated. The night before their arrival, we fought again, gentler this time. "I'm scared," I admitted, voice breaking. He pulled me close. "Then we wait. But I won't pretend forever." The weekend was torture. Mom cooked her famous lasagna while Dad grilled Liam about sports. Every laugh felt borrowed. Sunday morning, as they packed, Mom hugged me extra tight. "We love you no matter what." Her words hung like a lifeline. After they left, I sat on the couch, shaking. Liam waited. Finally, I looked at him. "I'm ready." We called them that evening on speakerphone. The silence on the other end lasted forever. Dad's voice came first, rough. "We need time, son." Mom cried. The call ended gently, but the distance felt vast. Liam held me while I broke down. "You sacrificed nothing," he whispered. "You chose truth." But the separation hurt. My parents stopped calling daily. Work felt heavier. For 2 weeks, we leaned on each other harder, late night talks turning into quiet promises. I started therapy, sorting through years of shame. Liam attended a support group for partners of newly out men. We grew, separately and together, the silence that started everything now filled with honest words. Summer arrived with warmer winds off the lake. My parents flew up again, this time unannounced. They knocked on our door on a Saturday afternoon, faces tired but determined. Dad shook Liam's hand first. "We've had time to think," he said gruffly. "We love our son, and if he loves you, that's enough." Mom hugged us both, tears flowing freely. The relief crashed over me like the waves at the dunes. That evening we grilled on the tiny balcony, laughter mixing with city sounds. No more hiding, no more half-truths. Liam and I walked to the lake afterward, hand in hand openly for the first time. The skyline sparkled, and for the first time I felt completely myself. We'd faced misunderstandings, family storms, and my own fears. Each step had been a choice, each silence replaced by courage. At the water's edge, he turned to me. "Thank you for not speaking that first night," he said softly. "It gave us time to get it right." I smiled, pulling him close under the stars. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been ours. True or false. Sometimes staying silent long enough to listen to your heart is the bravest way to begin the love you were always meant to live.